Yeah, we're good to go. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 10th edition of the Community Development Advisory Committee meeting. Everyone is in attendance for the committee this evening, and I trust everyone had a great Thanksgiving long weekend. So welcome back. Approval of the agenda. We do have a revision to the agenda. Number 9 on the agenda should read Tuesday, November the 14th at 7 p.m. It's happening on a Tuesday because the municipality town hall is closed on the 12th, on the 13th, right, Jerry? Monday is the 13th. It's closed due to Remembrance Day being on the Saturday, so it should be Tuesday, November the 14th at the meeting. So looking for someone to approve the revised agenda. Councillor Palkman, seconded by Brad. Any questions or comments to that? Carried. Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interest this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, approval of the minutes from September the 11th, 2023. Any questions, comments, revisions? I'll need a mover and a seconder for the minutes. Adrian, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Anyone, any questions or anything? In favor? Thank you, carried. Unfinished business, number 5.1, we'll go to customer surveys with facilities at 5.1.1.
So, thank you, Chair. I promised everyone at the last meeting that we would have some questions for you to at least look at. So what I've done between the staff and the office, we've pulled together a bunch of different questions, and we've divided them out into 2 sections at this point. One being programs, and the other one being facilities. And the facilities for these questions are just purely around our community center, as well as our West Middlesex Memorial Center and the Gemini. I haven't added anything in here for aquatics yet, but we can do that as we move along. So I'm just going to go through a quick little PowerPoint. This is as much for the people watching tonight or want to view the video later on, but as well for this committee. And then we can talk about them as we move along. So, the first 10 questions are going to be around programs. So again, we're looking at, what program, service, event did you engage in? And then these are going to be formulated in such a way that we're going to provide a list of, like a drop-down menu of all of the lists of the programs. And then you would select off those items. And then we're going to ask, how satisfied were you with those programs, service, events that you're engaged in? Again, a menu or a list of 1 to 10, 1 being unsatisfactory to 10 being excellent, and so on. How did our staff do that provided the service and programs? Again, a scale of 1 to 10. How was the registration process? Scale of 1 to 10. We're also asking, each question is going to have the ability to provide a comment. So how was the registration process? Someone may say, well, it's a 7. And then, may make a comment about, if you had a different online program, or we prefer in-person service, that kind of stuff. So each question will have the ability to provide a comment. How was our customer service? Sorry, Steve.
So when you're talking about programming, are you only talking about programming that's within facilities? So I guess I'm asking about the Rib Fest, which is predominantly planned by municipal staff. So are you including those kinds of events or just regular?
So these would be recreation event or recreation programs. So we would have a different questionnaire for each individual special event. Okay, so because Ribfest may have a series of different questions than we're going to have for Winterfest, right? And Paul, you can jump in whatever you want. Customer service, how is our customer service? So that can be everything from, the registration process to the staff in the facility or the staff running the programs. You're gonna see some questions overlap. So how would you rate the cleanliness of the park and/or indoor facility that you engage in your program, service, and event? All right, so you're also gonna find in the facility questionnaire that we're asking a similar question about cleanliness, right? And the reason we've identified park in here is because we also run our programs in parks and so on. How would you rate the cleanliness of the park or indoor facility? That's a duplicate, so we'll take that one out. What suggestions would you provide to increase the quality of the park and or indoor facility that you engage your program services in? So that's going to be just, a comment section. So, additional washrooms, a shaded area, that kind of stuff. Did you visit our website to book your program service event with us? If yes, please rate the experience. So we know about 70% of our programs are booked online. What we don't know is how well that system is functioning for the end user, because there's no way for us to measure that at this point. So this will help us measure that. Do you have any other comments or suggestions for our program, service, events, parks, and indoor facilities? So that was the really, 10 quick little questions. We don't want the survey to be too long that they're not engaged, right? So,
Councillor Wilson.
Is this going to be the same one that we're looking at?
Councillor Wilson, can you turn your microphone on, please, for us? Thank you, sir.
Is this going to be the same one we look at for like junior chefs or robotics or the kids programs? Just because I'm reading all those questions and it seems like, how was your experience? But a lot of them, it may be parents dropping their kids off. So we should maybe have some of that would reflect the fact that the person who registered and is paying for the program may not be the person in the program. Maybe it's their kid or like just for, because I know my wife, like she'd probably want to, like she's more concerned with the drop off for the junior robotics for my daughter than actually how the program is running, even though the kids like the program too.
Yeah.
But this doesn't really.
So what question would be missing? Because the first question is identifying the program that you're in, right? So,
yeah, but the person answering the survey is the parent, they're not actually in the program. They registered their child in the program.
That's true, but our expectation is that if the child's not having a good time, they're going to be telling the parents. Or I'm assuming you would ask your daughter, did you enjoy junior chefs or junior trades or volleyball? And if you get a negative response, then I would expect that to be in the, right? So if there's questions missing, like this is one of the reasons why we're here, is if you want us to add a question or two, by all means, right? What we're trying to do is to create a questionnaire so we don't have a million different questionnaires out there, right? We're trying to create one for programs, create one for facilities, create one for special events, that kind of thing. Unless I'm misunderstanding your question, Councillor Wilson.
Follow up, Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, my whole point was that there's a whole different questions that are only going to apply to kids programs, where there's drop-offs, where there's how the kids were registered, was the supervision there, like all of those things are completely different for kids programs than they are, say, an adult or senior pickleball program where it's them coming in. They don't care what the drop-off procedure is because there isn't one, unless you're checking in. No, that's off topic. I won't go down that road, but it's just they're different.
So we can look at adding, maybe Paul might want to jump in on this one, but we can have a questionnaire for adult programs, adult recreation programs, and maybe a different set of questions for youth-related programs.
Paul, you want to jump in here?
Sure. These questionnaires and these surveys are going to be online, right? Yeah. So that's going to engage the parents. So just to be perfectly honest, kids aren't going to go on and do these surveys. This is going to be part of that engagement, and that experience is that holistic part of everything. So they will represent their children within those surveys. And again, if we get into all those nitty-gritty details, then we're going to be into 2-3 pages of a survey, and that's our fear of not getting the engagement online with that. Not that your points aren't valid with those questions that you ask, but those are things that we may specify in a hand-delivered survey to certain programs to see if those things are there. And then those questions too give you that option to give feedback as well, where you can elaborate on anything that, you know, if you have concerns or if you want to say it was really great, you can use as well. So again, this is trying to keep it as simplified as we can, but still be able to gather information and give the participant the opportunity to give that information within the comment section.
Councillor Pamela, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Just two things. One is maybe at the beginning of the survey, you might ask, did the person completing this survey participate in the programs, or are you completing it for a child or a minor? Mm-hmm. And that might kind of, when you're looking at it, give it some context. But I also agree with Councillor Wilsey that as a parent, you know, one of the questions I think you should ask is, like, as a parent, were you satisfied with the levels of supervision? Things like that are very important in a program. If it was my kids, that was something, just sort of feedback I would look at, the supervision piece and the, yeah, because a lot of this is around, like, basically you're getting at things like, was the washroom clean, was your registration good or whatever, but yeah, I agree with Councillor Wilsey. It could be a little more specific to things that might apply to children a little bit more. And again, if some people could skip that question if you're not answering for a child, right? So again, if you start at the top with, are you answering this for yourself or on behalf of a child or a minor, then you're gonna maybe have some things that skip. So.
Yeah, those are all good. For you, those are all good comments, and maybe again, this is kind of first blush. One of the reasons why we're bringing it here is to get your feedback. So we can look at adding a couple questions and modifying them. I should just elaborate on what Paul had said. These are going to be QR codes, right? So, you know, when you drop your child off in a program, there'll be a QR code there that you can scan and fill out a survey. The survey will be accessible via our website. There will be signs in the facilities with a QR code. You know, how do we do today? Scan the QR code and fill out the survey kind of approach, right? So we'll take those. We'll make some changes, and what I hope to do is have our communications department develop the survey, and then I can show you what the survey will look like. I can email it out to all of you, and then you guys can you can go through the survey and make comments. I'm not going to commit for the next meeting, but because I don't know how busy Jesse is. So.
Councillor Baldwin, did you have your hand up?
I did. Most of the points have been covered already, but you know, what I saw in there is that there's always an option to provide comments. So if something is glaringly wrong, someone's going to mention it. You know, that we don't necessarily have to ask a particular question, but I do like your suggestion of are you filling this out for yourself or for a family member in your household that participated in a program? Because it might not be filling out for a child. My guess is you probably only get one person per household to fill it out. So you could have both a husband and a wife participating in programs and only one of them fill out the survey. So.
Are all the questions going to be formulated with a comment section, Director, or is there going to be other, like there was one that said rate your experience, is it going to be like a rating 1 to 5 kind of thing? Yes. Or okay. Yeah,
and then, so yes, it'll be like a 1 to 10, very unhappy to very happy, and then there's always going to be space for comment. Right.
Okay, Steve.
Are they going to be continuously open? Or is there going to be a time frame for some? Like at the facility, let's say at the Gemini, you would have one there that would be continuously open all the time to have feedback. And then if you were running a program, you would just have one specific for that program. Is that kind of what you're going to devise?
That would be the intention. So Youth Badminton, as an example, is 8-week program, right? So that survey It may be the same survey for all of our programs, but we're only going to get information on youth badminton for 8 weeks, right?
But there will be ones that are continuous. Yes. Okay.
Any other, did you want to move right along into
Yeah,
programs,
unless
or
there's
any
unless
other
there's
questions with the facilities? Okay, let's move on to the program.
Okay, so again, similar questions like which facility did you visit today? This drop-down menu would have Gemini Sportsplex, Caradoc Community Center, West Middlesex Memorial Center. How would you rate the, so if it's a dressing room that you're using, how would you rate the cleanliness of the dressing rooms? How would you rate the cleanliness of the washrooms? The overall cleanliness of the facility? The quality of the ice, that's the product that we're selling. So you would want to know what that was like. How would you rate our customer service, right? So there may not be specific customer service personnel in the facility, but our staff who staff those facilities are to provide that customer service. Did you require staff assistance? If so, were they easily able to be located? Were they identifiable, right? They're all supposed to have a uniform on, so are they? Were you able to find them? Did you find the facility easy to navigate? Was there appropriate signage? So do people know where to go in the facilities, right? So one of the comments that I've heard about the Caradoc Community Center.
I'll fix that, not sure what happened, sorry about it.
You also.
No, we're good, we're good now,
Okay.
yep.
The Caradoc Community Center, unless you are familiar with the place, you don't know where the Wendigo room is versus the Hartford room versus the Longwoods Hall, right? So maybe we need better signage, right? We haven't captured any of that other than through hearsay. What suggestions would you provide to increase the quality of the facility that you visited? Right? Is it increased signage? Is it increased cleanliness? Paint job? Replace the ceiling tiles? And then do you have any other comments or suggestions of facilities that you visited? Did you utilize the concession while you're on site? Right? If you use the concession when you're on site, how did you find the service? It's a third-party contractor, right? So again, we would like to know, are they providing a service that equals the service that we expect? If you use a concession on site, how did you find the pricing? Right? Again, these are all going to have, acceptable, unacceptable, extremely expensive. If you use the concession on site, how did you find the food? Right? Poor to good. 1 being poor, 10 being good. Right? Like it's going to have a sliding scale.
Adrian.
Through your chair, Rob, I just wonder if we should think about the attention span that people have. Given, sometimes when they're rushing in with their kids, they're not going to want to fill out a 10-question survey. Wondering if you maybe break it down and for 6 weeks you run a concession questions, 5 questions. Get some feedback that way. And just keep it short and sweet. And are we going to give any incentive for people to do this?
The incentive's not in my budget, but that'll be a council decision. So comment, agreed. That's one of the reasons why we've tried to keep the questions down to 10, right? The facilities question has 15, but there's some duplicate questions in those 15. The challenge with running a 6-week concession questionnaire and a 6-week facility questionnaire is we're not asking people to fill these out. We're putting a static symbol on the wall saying, how did we do today? Take a survey. So I think if we were to, limit it to 6 weeks we may, all of a sudden you got a spur of people who are interested and they just do the survey and it's just the concession, then we won't get any information on the facility. So I think we need to reduce, try to condense the questions down to, no more than 10. They truly are going to be a yes or a no or a 1 through 10, right? We're not looking for paragraphs to be written in the comment section. So we can I think we should try it out initially with everything together, and if we're not seeing the results we want to see, then maybe we break it out. As for an incentive, we haven't talked about that in the office. There may be a way that we can look at something that's inexpensive. Depending on the number of surveys, could be, enter your name into a draw for a free aquatic pass, right? That kind of thing. It really doesn't cost us anything, and it still gives a little bit of that incentive for. But we haven't had that conversation in the office yet.
Paul, you want to check in here?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in, so I think through the chair to the group, to remember this is like a soft solicit. This is making sure that we have this open for ongoing feedback. When we have a program or something specific, I know, and I'll speak to programs, if I've got a program that I've got questions about and I really need feedback because there's maybe something that needs to be tweaked or something that needs to be better, I'm going to put out something separate than this. It'll be more specific kind of towards what Councillor Wilsey was talking about and Councillor Pam is we'll ask a slew of questions that will be geared to, say, basketball or camp or whatever. This is giving an option so that people can always, if there's something on their mind and they want to give feedback, they can go to that QR code, scan it, and be like, you know what? Wow, this is really clean today. This arena is so much better than the one that my kids play at every week. Or, you know what? The bathrooms were terrible and I can't believe that you let people come into this. We'll get all sorts of things, and this gives that option for people. This is showing that we're open to feedback because we're always looking to get better, and if something needs to be addressed, we'll address it. And if you want to say really nice things to us, we're open to that as well. So,
Okay, thank you. Director?
The other thing that we can do with the survey is we can tailor the survey. So did you utilize the concession while on site? If it's no, then you go to the end of the survey. There's no more questions that pop up, right? So that would eliminate 3 more questions, right? Same thing, did you utilize the Caradoc Community Center? And then some other questions may be eliminated based like, how is the ice quality? If you use the Caradoc Community Center, there wouldn't be a question about ice quality, right? So we can tailor the surveys now with the technology that we have to be a little intuitive. So that will make it a little bit easier to complete and faster to complete. So.
Councillor Wilsey and then Jagger.
No, you go ahead.
Or Jagger, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Littleborn. When is the plan to get the surveys rolled out?
Well, I had surveys on the agenda for about 4 months, so I'm gonna, let's say another 4 months. Now, honestly, a lot of it depends on the workload that we have in the office. It's not, yes, it's a priority, but it seems like the important gets swallowed by the urgent, right? So we will continue to work on it. My next step now will be kind of fine tune some of these questions, work with the communications team, get a survey pulled together. Like I said, I'm not going to commit for that in a month. Hopefully we can have it to you in 6 to 8 weeks. But this is one of those items that we continually work on. It's not, again, sometimes it gets bumped off depending on the priorities that happen in the office.
Councillor Wilsey.
Just kind of on that with talking with staff and working together and putting the hours into it. Has this gone through council? Has been a budgeted item to make sure there's hours allocated to it? If not, should it be if we're dedicating, we've been working on it for a number of months and now we're going to have to develop a website and put that up, there's cost to all of that. How are we going to address that if it hasn't come to council yet?
So I guess the quick answer is you pay me anyway, regardless of what I'm doing. So this is, as we sit here and say, this has been sitting on my desk, yes. Has it taken an immense amount of hours to pull together 15 questions? No. Probably maybe an hour and a half total between the 3 or 4 staff that have looked at this. So from a budget perspective, this isn't going to affect the budget. We have a survey module in our communications on our website, which is part of our suite of tools. So there's no expense with regards to that. It's just staff time. And I don't believe council would want to be inundated with staff coming forward and getting permission to do a project because it's going to take staff time. That's our job as managers and directors, to allocate our time to fit within the 35 or 40 hours a week that we have to work.
Wendy?
Through the chair to Rob. Once you gather this information, what is the ratio before you act on it? Like, if you have 2 people come forward and say, well, we had lousy hot dogs, do you just dismiss that? What is the ratio? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Yes.
There's a process for gathering this information and moving forward to a correction. So what is the ratio for each one of these?
So with regards to a ratio, I would say it's going to depend on the severity. So if I get a survey that talks about, 2 or 3 people identify the ceiling tiles are falling down in the lobby of the Gemini, that's not something I'm going to wait to get a plethora of information on. I'm going to be calling staff going, hey, I think we got a problem with some ceiling tiles. Can you guys look at that, right? If I get 1 complaint about a hot dog, probably not going to do much about that. But if I get 10 complaints about a hot dog, yeah, that you may. Now, if I get complaint about the cleanliness of the concession, then I'm going to ask my supervisor to go and take a look at the cleanliness of the concession for me, right? And then we will make the decision whether or not there's a concern with regards to the cleanliness. So again, it depends on that, on the severity or the level of concern that we would have from a department's perspective. But 2 hot dogs or 2 flat pops, not so much a huge priority for me.
Councillor Pelkman and then Steve.
Yes, through the chair, just, typically people will fill out surveys only when they have a bee in their bonnet. And that's where Adrian's point about incentivizing becomes really important, because as soon as you have, win a free summer pass at the aquatic center, then you start getting people filling it out just because they want a shot at winning in the aquatic pass. So it was a good point.
Thank you. Steve?
Through the chair to Rob. What right now do we have for a feedback loop to find out about our facilities and parks that exists already? And are you wanting more information because you feel that's inadequate or hasn't been good, or is in general you just want to open it up to the public because it's something that you're seeing other facilities do?
We've been very, what's the word I want to use? We haven't actively been asking for comments, right? So I can walk through the building and I can feel very confident that the building is clean. I would say that I would put the cleanliness of our facilities up against any facility in the province of Ontario. Would we be the worst, and would we be the best? No, definitely not the worst. But I also know we're not the best. The information we get is typically from coaches or from minor hockey or figure skating executive. They'll reach out to us and say that they've had this problem. We're not actively looking for that information. I think it's fair in today's environment that there's an avenue for the user to provide their input. I would rather get something through a survey than read about it on Facebook. And that's where we tend to get a lot of our intelligence, if you can call Facebook intelligent, is from scouring the rant page or the Just Ask pages of Mount Bridges and Strathroy and Melbourne and so on. So that's where we're gathering the information. Is it fully accurate? 9 times out of 10, it's not, right? So trying to give the user who is physically in our facilities or using our programs the ability to provide comment rather than going on Facebook and making a comment and then 10 or 15 people jump on board who've never attended a program of ours, right? So it's trying to get more direct communication versus secondary communication.
Follow up, Steve.
So you think that the survey then will or redirect them from putting it on Facebook?
No, I think it'll always end up on Facebook, but what I do think is that will be the survey will be the information that we get that justifies our response, right? So one person goes on Facebook, makes a negative comment, and then 15 or 20 people jump on board and make a negative comment that have never attended our programs, right? Who are we satisfying there? The one person that attended our program or the 15 or 20 people who've never attended our programs? Where these surveys, you're physically gonna have to be in our building to take the QR code to do the survey, right? At least it gives us firsthand experience from that customer versus the secondary experience from someone who's never been at one of our programs or stepped foot in one of our facilities. So I do not expect it to eliminate the issues or the comments on Facebook, but I do believe it will help us get more accurate data.
Good questions. Any final questions regarding these customer surveys? Jagger and then Adrian.
Through you, Chair, to Director Lilliborn, I would trust that once the surveys get rolled out, there will be a plan to sort of aggregate that information and that information be provided to this group periodically.
We can provide updates, whether they're quarterly or bi-yearly. That's not a problem.
Note that the concession part of the survey won't be filled out until we have somebody running the concession. Just want to throw that out there. Adrian?
Through you, Chair. Rob, does the town have a customer service number to call rather than, I'm just kind of thinking of the bigger picture here. If we're specifying like this is Parks and Recreation, rather than you scouring Facebook to look for those comments, does the town have a way to call in those comments where you could also gather that information rather than it just be coming through surveys?
Absolutely. There is a virtual city on our website. So there are many ways for you to report concerns or comments with regards to different municipal services, whether it's parks or facilities, roads, water, wastewater, that kind of stuff. We have a dedicated customer service counter where all of the calls get filtered through. The relying on the surveys, it's just another tool for us to be able to access information from our direct users, right? Do I expect a lot of uptake? I don't know, right? I don't know. But what I can say is we have never actively asked our users to comment on our facilities or our customer service. So I think this gives the end user the ability to provide comment. And I think that's fair. In today's society, with the technologies that we have, why not take advantage of them?
When the communications department comes out, rolls it out on social media, would you also put the QR code on social media as well, even though you might have people who are on social media that have never used a Gemini and still can click on that and fill out a survey without even having any experience?
The QR codes would be identified in the facilities. The survey would be available online.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Wilsey.
Yeah, as a committee, we're supposed to be talking about this, seeing if we think these things are good ideas. We've spent the last however long, most of the meeting so far, talking about what we're going to do when it goes in. There's been a few comments who not necessarily been negative against it, but haven't been 100% supportive of it. Should we take a poll of the committee here to see if we actually think that it's a good idea to put it forward and put the staff resources and time into it? I think that is supposed to be the goal of the committee to discuss that, isn't it?
Councilor Wilson, I think one of the next steps that the director said was he's gonna take it back to the communications department to create kind of what it looks like. And I think maybe we can wait until then to formalize an opinion on the surveys moving forward and how it looks presentational wise, or if you're good with that.
I just thought it doesn't take long to take a poll to see if, before we put staff time into it, because he said it might be another 4 months before we even see it, before it's on a wait list and we're waiting to put staff time into it. Does the committee think it's even a worthwhile idea? I think we should maybe take that as a poll, as I believe that's the point of the committee.
Okay, do we want to do that? Okay, we'll just show by showing of hands if you are comfortable with this and think it's a good idea moving forward. Raise your hand, please. Okay, thank you. And who does not? Okay, so we have majority to 2. So I guess we can move forward, Director. Any other questions? Paul.
This is just curiosity for me, what the 2 that just raised your hands that you don't think it's a good idea. Why?
Councilor Wilson, we can begin with you if you wish.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of how generic it is. I don't know what we're actually going to use the data for and where it's actually going to be efficient when we're using it. It looks very generic, and I've seen a lot of companies do customer feedback. A lot of my clients have done this, and it just ends up sitting somewhere and nobody looks at it and never gets acted on, and it's just another part of someone else's job that they have to collect, and it's never used. I haven't heard anything about how the data is actually going to be used. I haven't heard an actual action plan for using it. We don't know how much it's going to cost to put this together. We don't know how many people are going to use it. It's still passive. We're just posting something up. So all of these things, there's a lot of unknowns of actually how much data we're going to get, how good the data is going to be, and there's no real plan for using the data except for another way of feedback, which we already have a few already. So I don't see an actual purpose. I see it as just another avenue to do the same thing we're already doing without really doing anything different. That's my opposition to it.
No, and we appreciate that feedback. 1 sec, Wendy, we'll go to the director to see if you'd like to respond.
Well, just the data that we get back, if we have 100 surveys filled out and 75 of them come back and say the building's not clean, or it's poor cleanliness, or it rates less than 50%, that's obviously an indicator to me that we have a problem. So how am I going to use that data?
Fix the problem.
Yeah, ice quality is one of the questions. If 80% of the surveys come back and they say the ice quality is excellent, it's the best in the region, then that's going to be great job, staff. We're getting accolades on the quality of the ice. However, the facility is not so clean, so maybe we need to refocus some of our energies to the cleanliness of the facility, right? So I disagree with the fact that there's not a plan to use the data. Have we sat down here and spelled out to you exactly what the ratios or the percentage is going to be when we act upon something? No, because I don't think we're able to do that. If I get one survey back that talks about ice quality and no one comments on ice quality, is that one comment valid? Right? So I disagree that we're just gonna sit on the data. Are the surveys generic? Yep. Not gonna deny they're generic. We can create them to be a little bit more focused around different programs, which I think was part of the comments that we received earlier today, which is part of the purpose of this committee, is to provide comment so we can make adjustments to whether they're policies, procedures, or questions, or whatever we're doing. That's part of the reason for this committee. So we will take that data, we will analyze that data, and we'll use that data. And we'll bring that information back to this committee, whether it's quarterly or biannually, is yet to be determined. But sitting on the data is not something that this department has done in the past, and I don't think this department will do in the future. So I don't agree with that, and I appreciate the comment, but I until you give us an opportunity to actually use the information, I don't think it's a fair statement.
Wendy?
I was just going to add that I think the reason for this is basically quality assurance and best practice. And you can't be in all facilities at one time, so it's just an avenue for people to voice their concerns if something does rise. So I see it as quality assurance with the facilities, because it is, these programs are basically for profit for the town as well, correct?
They're a revenue generator, yes.
Right.
I wouldn't say profit.
Well, okay. Yeah, I'll use that term loosely. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Brad?
Thanks, Chris. Just thought, I mean, Rob kind of touched on it for me, but the idea about not being used, I do see it, or I assumed it was going to come back to this committee. And then depending on the numbers, if you got a good number to go by, that we could make recommendations back to council, which is again what we're supposed to be doing. So as long as that happens, I don't see anything wrong with that. That will answer the question, will it get used or not? It's going to get used right here.
Thank you. I will chime in and say I agree with some of the comments that Councillor Wilsey stated. I also agree with the director. Depends on where the surveys are focused on. And Wendy, you brought that up earlier in the discussion. Like, for example, if we have a ton of surveys that come in and say, hey, I was unable to get a hold of staff at the Gemini, and there's a bunch of surveys that say that, and there's a dispatch radio right at the front lobby, and nobody's answering it, then yeah, the department can address that right away. As far as the generic comments, I believe there are some generic comments that might not be able to narrow things down as much as the department would need it, specifically if Paul needs it. Like if there's a bunch of surveys that come in regarding a camp counselor, the surveys will dictate what program that is, but if there's multiple counselors within that program and there's complaints about a counselor, I don't know, because of the generic style of the survey, if Paul can narrow it down and say, hey, I have an issue with this particular counselor, I need to address it. I don't know if the survey can, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, I don't know if the survey can narrow it down that far. So I agree with the points that were made today. There is some generic aspects of the survey, and I don't know if it depends on the scenario and the situation. Paul?
We put separate surveys out for camp that are much more specific.
Okay.
Again, these are generic things for people to have an ongoing opportunity to provide feedback, which makes us more transparent to the community and showing and accountable.
So a camp mom and dad would get one from the specific camp, but also be able to hop into the QR code, a generic QR code, and do a survey there as well, right? If they want it. Okay. Councillor Poppin, I apologize. Did you have your hand up?
I was just gonna say, if you get some generic response back, at least you know you gotta start asking questions. And then you can do your investigation from there.
Fair enough. Okay, we're gonna go one final question here from Steve. We're gonna move on here. So Steve, go ahead, please.
Through the chair to Rob. This isn't gonna replace feedback through complaints, right? So that's not what we're trying to do here, right? You can still phone up the department, send an email to the department, send an email to the director, do all of those things to get that feedback and get those issues taken care of.
100%. This is not, if I get the president of minor hockey or the president of the figure skating club calling me up and saying that they've had this issue or got this issue, I'm not gonna point them to the survey.
I'm gonna say fill out the survey.
That's not it. What I would do is if it's and we've done this before, where we've actually had called the presidents in, or the executive sat down and had a meeting, right? So depending on the situation, would depend on the response of the department. But those complaints we get via email or phone calls are treated as such.
Okay, thank you. Really good discussion. Appreciate all the comments. Let's move on in the agenda to number 6, reports of committees and departments, progress through partnership, list of projects.
This is the same as last time. This is always going to be on the agenda, just reminding people that we have PTP and that there is a list of projects out there that we're looking for partners for.
We need a mover and a seconder to receive the information from PTP, if I can get that. Wendy and Adrian, all in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. New business, 7.1, Medal of Distinction.
This is just purely an update, and I'm gonna pass it off to Paul. The nomination, time for nominations have closed. If you could just provide an update on the number of nominations that we had, and the next steps would be great.
Yeah, we have 11 nominations. Kate and I have been working through that information. She's put contacts out to the committee members that will meet to vote on the process, the anonymous process. So that's where it stands right now. Once we get those responses back and we set a meeting date, then we'll have a package together with those nominations, the ones that qualify, and it will move to the next step.
Paul, has that selection committee received the communication yet, or is it the demographics of that committee changed and there's different members on it? Or has that communication gone out yet?
I believe it has, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions regarding Medal of Distinction?
I will provide you with not the list of members, but so the terms of reference refers to the list of members who are the nomination committee. The mayor of Strathroy-Caradoc, a council member from Strathroy-Caradoc, the CAO of Strathroy-Caradoc, the director of community services, one representative of the local business community, one member of the public at large, one member of the Community Development Advisory Committee, one member of the Museum Advisory Committee, and one member of the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority. So we're in the process of contacting all of those individuals, and then the committee will then meet, and recommendations will go before council.
Any other questions? Okay, community events program.
This is in front of you this evening because as the program used to be referred to as the Community Partnership Program, it was revised and was sent to council for approval, and those applications have to be in by October 31st. So this is where organizations can put a request in for funds to help operate an event. So Santa Claus Parade as an example. The Strathroy Lions Club can put in an application for X amount of dollars. If they meet all of the criteria, then council could award them the request. Hometown Festival is another example. Pride was another example from previous applications. The reason this is in front of you this evening is prior to this program, staff did the selection and made the recommendations to council. Put staff in a difficult position. So this committee is now the vetters of the applications. And this committee will make the recommendations to council on who gets what. Okay, that is why this is in front of you this evening. So I strongly encourage you to take some time over the next little while, review the package, and excuse me, and once October 31st comes and goes, we will have an evening going through those applications. All right, and depending on the number, it could be a few evenings.
Councillor Palmer.
Are those applications available to the not-for-profit groups on the website?
Yes, they are.
Any other questions, comments? Steve?
To Rob, when does the funding occur for them? When does it start? January 1st? Is that, so they've already handled the Santa Claus Parade and all that stuff? So that's not a big worry, like that type of thing?
The Santa Claus Parade has already been awarded for this year.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
So January 1st is what we're
Correct.
shooting for. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Just to tack on, so if they wanted to apply for next year's Santa Claus parade, they need to do that by.
Yeah. Thanks.
And just to add on to Councillor Kramer, it is on the website because I'm currently filling one out for the festival, and it's definitely different. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, 7.3 program update.
I'll pass it on to Paul.
Yeah, not a huge one for tonight. I think when we talked before, our programs were open and registering. Registration's going pretty well. Again, a little slower in some of our children's programs compared to other times, but for the most part, going really well. We've started programs at the Caradoc Community Center for pickleball, and euchre will be starting this week. I don't know if we have any registrations yet, but yeah, good start with the pickleball in Mount Bridges, so we're expanding.
Okay, any questions or comments for Paul? Okay, thank you, Paul. 7.4, list of special events.
Oh, give me 2 seconds here, and then I will share my screen again. So on the screen behind me is a list of special events that we've got slated to be offered between now and starting in January for 2024. We have I believe it's 18 special events themselves, and then I believe there's 8 seniors jamborees. January, they start with seniors jamboree, then we've got Family Day in Strathroy, and then Family Day in Mount Bridges. Easter with the Optimists, Community Over Cancer, Kickoff Night Market in May, right? So the Hometown Festival. Again, these are all special events that we are either operating or involved in one way or another. So you'll see, so different partners that we've got listed through whether it's Rotary Club, Lions Club, Downtown Strathroy, VIA, Chamber of Commerce, the Strathroy Model Railroad Engineers, that sort of stuff. So I wanted to share this with you. It's just one of those items that the department continues to grow. It's special events within the community. Prior to the pandemic, we ran about, I want to say, 6 different special events, and we're now up to 18 or so. And then when you get to the summertime and we have the market, that's a special event every Saturday, essentially, right? So it makes for a busy year. But I thought it'd be important just to share with the community to let you know what we're doing within the department. So,
Councillor Kramer.
Can you, firstly, Rob, send that to us, because I can't read that. And it wasn't in the package, so.
No, it wasn't.
I'd appreciate if you could just send out a copy of that.
No, I sure can.
Okay, and then secondly, I'm just a little confused. This is a list of events for 2022, and you mentioned something like 2024, and you just mentioned the cancer event. But I thought that something like that would have come in the application process, which we haven't got yet. So what's the difference between what's coming forth as an application for 2024 and this list of events for 2024?
So this list of events is what we as a department will be involved in one way or another. So we work with Community Over Cancer at the facility level. The Community Over Cancer will still put in an application for funding like they have in the past. Lions Club is another one. We'll work with them in one way or another, whether it's providing barricades, helping with road closures, that kind of stuff. But they'll still apply for funding. So the funding application component has nothing to do with this list. Hometown Festival is another one. We have Kate sits on the Hometown Festivals Committee as a liaison, right? So there's an involvement from that respect. So the fact that they're on the list has nothing to do with the application component of the process.
So just to clarify, the application process is really just about funding.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. 7.5, updated code of conduct.
I provide that for you this evening, simply because council has approved an updated code of conduct, and as part of the terms of reference, all committees and boards are subject to the council approved code of conduct. So if you have not had the opportunity, I'm not gonna go through it this evening. I'll leave that for you to read. And if you have questions, by all means, contact the clerk's department with regards to your questions for clarity and such.
Councillor Pelkman.
Yeah, I'll just make one quick comment that's not maybe listed specifically in the code of conduct. It might be actually, but in the past, I had experience as a committee chair having a committee member trash a local business on Facebook, and in their Facebook profile, it clearly identified them as a member of this committee. And so I just would like to remind everyone that as a member of any municipal committee, we expect people to be cheerleaders, not detractors from anything that happens in the community.
Yeah, well said. Any other comments, questions? Steve?
What does that exactly mean?
That means you can't go online and trash a business.
Yeah.
Make negative comments
As an
towards a
individual.
business as a representative of a municipal committee, whether it's PTP, CDAC. So it comes under the umbrella of code of conduct as a committee
So
member.
just because I list that in my profile, if I'm speaking as an individual, not as a committee member, how does that reflect? I'm not understanding that.
Because even though you're not in council chambers, you're still representing the community that you're based on with the municipality committee at work. If I want to come out and trash Councillor Pelkman in a conversation at a local establishment, I'm still representing my work, and that's a code of conduct no as far as I'm concerned, because I'm part of the media. That's just an example of you're still representing who you're representing and what you belong to, whether you're in the horseshoe or not. And Councillor Pelkman, if I'm incorrect, please state where I am.
Yep, no, you're correct, and it's about the way you handle an issue, Steve. Like, so if you have an issue with the way something's being done, there's channels and avenues to do it, as opposed to going on. So I'll use the Hometown Festival as a good example. You've got a very dedicated group of individuals, and I can remember last year, I believe there was only 4 of you, correct? Planning the whole festival, and then to read online, people saying, "Oh my God, did that ever suck? Why couldn't they get a better thing like that?" If I saw one of our committee members doing that, as opposed to going through a channel that's not seen by the public and saying, "Okay, so there were some issues. Is there any way we can help out to make sure that this doesn't happen next year?" As opposed to saying, "These volunteers are a bunch of morons. We should fire them all." It doesn't help people to step forward to help build the community and make it a better place if you're doing it publicly in a social media form. That's my point.
Make sense?
No, that makes absolutely no sense to me as an individual. Just because I'm a member of the committee, that I can't voice my opinion on things. To me, that seems like a freedom of speech issue that as long as I never said, I was part of the committee, or I'm acting as part of the committee, or I'm talking as part of the committee, I don't see as an individual why I couldn't express my displeasure with those type of things, and that be an issue.
You don't think it'd be a problem, hypothetically, on social media if you said our CDAC chair, Chris Soares, does not know how to run meetings, has no idea what he's doing?
No.
And you're a CDAC member, you don't think that's improper?
No, I agree that's proper, because I'm acting as a CDAC member and saying that. right? The Hometown Festival, if I'm not involved in the Hometown Festival in any way, shape, or form, and all I do is sit on this committee, why shouldn't I be allowed to express my displeasure in that if I wasn't part of that?
Director?
Donna had a
Oh, sorry, Councillor Pammer.
I was just gonna recommend, Steve, you may not be familiar with the policy, so I would suggest you read it first. And then if you have any questions or concerns, rather than us go around
Yeah,
in circles.
and it was approved by council
Yeah.
already,
And
and
then I
it
guess
just
you could
filters down to all the committees.
Take it up with the chair, and at that point, I guess, decide if you wanna continue.
Yeah, Director?
I was just gonna say similar comment that Councillor Pammer just made. Take some time, review the policy. If you have questions or concerns, please reach out to Legal and Legislative Services and speak with the CAO. Right? She is the person that would be able to provide you with some clarity. There is very clear language in the Code of Conduct with regards to members' behavior. It's on the top of page 4. So if you want to take a look at that, but take the time, review the whole document, and if you do have questions, please don't be afraid to reach out to the CAO.
Yeah, thank you. And good question, Steve. Yeah, let's get educated if we're not educated yet on the policy. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Number 8, inquiries or comments by members. We'll start with Councillor Pammer.
Nothing to add tonight.
Thank you. Wendy.
Nothing, thanks.
Councillor Copeland.
I'm gonna throw it back to Wendy and ask her to brag, because she's got some
I
big news.
thought she was going to mention that, but she never did. So let's go back to Wendy.
Oh, my grandson just got signed to the Edmonton Oilers.
Your grandson, that's awesome.
That is big news.
All right, well done. And the committee, maybe some tickets in the future.
Code of Conduct?
Councillor Falkman.
I have nothing to add tonight.
Melanie, you good? Paul Lattimore.
All good.
Brad.
Just a quick thing for Rob or Paul. The old lawn bowling lane in Alexander Park, the grassy area there, is that possible to rejuvenate that if there was a group interested?
Director Littlemore.
Always possible. It floods a lot.
It always did, though, yeah.
Yeah, it's the bent grass is no longer there. It's not level anymore, so there would have to be a significant amount of work done to it. But I would never say never, because that never is a very long time. So if there is a group interested in it, have them bring a proposal forward, and we'll evaluate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rob.
And that location doesn't necessarily have to be that location.
No, correct.
In a rejuvenation project, yeah.
It might be cheaper to go somewhere else, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Adrian.
On Saturday, October 28th, my family and I are hosting a Pennywise event out in front of our house. This has been kind of a joke that started about 3 years ago on my husband. He hates clowns. So I had Pennywise visit the house, and since for the last couple of years, we've had hundreds of people show up to see this. So this year we're having Pennywise show up again. My husband gets dressed up, and along with another neighbor who dresses up as Mike Myers. And the 3 of them just have a blast. So it's gotten so big that we've requested a road closure because we were scaring lots of kids and it was becoming a little risky with cars. And we're also collecting for the food bank this year. So it should be a lot of fun. It happens to be on the same night as the Halloween event in town, and just down the street from it. So we're at 8 Ashby Crescent, and we'll be looking forward to collecting food and scaring a lot of kids.
All right, thank you. Steve.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Jagger.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilsey.
Yeah, just looking forward and just thinking about some of our facilities and where they're being used. Is it a possibility to have something available that would show where the facilities are available, like if the Caradoc Community Center isn't used all the time if there's some groups that want to use it for the evening, or like for a regular meeting, or just, is there some place where it's published what's available and what's not and what's booked? Just because when I was looking through the terms of reference that the CAO emailed out to Councilor this week, one of the things that we have is to promote our facilities and when they're available, and that combined with the email that we received from the director over what we're charging for our pickleball, I started looking at those numbers, and like, if I look at where our published rates are compared to what the income we're getting for the pickleball, as committee members, if we could reach out, I'm sure we could get better utilization of our facilities and just get more people in there. We already have the sunk cost of heat and cleaning, we might as well get some use out of them.
Director.
So there is on our website, if you go to our booking portal, you can see all of the availability of all of our facilities. So there is the ability to do that. What I'll do is I can send the link out to the committee members, if that helps.
And I guess my thought on that is if specifically, I'm thinking in my head like something like a Boy Scout group or something like that would want it a Tuesday. They're not going to look for Tuesday every week through our portal. If we typically like our Tuesday nights open, just if there was someone who wanted to book a regular meeting, that's kind of more what I was thinking, rather than an hour by hour schedule of every single day. So we could circulate out to some of the groups and say, hey, are there programs you'd like to start here, their availability?
So the Scouts already book regularly with us. I believe there's a Girl Guides group that books with us regularly. There is now a VON program, pickleball. The Lions Club meets there regularly. So that process is already going out and about with regards to the usage of the Caradoc Community Center. The Caradoc Community Center's usage in 2023 has not been very high, but we've had more interest for 2024 than we had all of 2023. And a lot of that, and I said this a few meetings back, with regards to in a meeting with regards to the Caradoc Community Center, is when the health unit left, they gave us about a month's notice. To run an event and plan programs, you need some time, so people hadn't booked the Caradoc Community Center. So we've already, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, already toured 6 weddings through for 2024, which is about 6 more than we had in 2023. So the usage of the Caradoc Community Center is going to be going up. But with regards to regular usage, we have the Scouts that are in there regularly. I want to say it's Girl Guides, the Lions Club, and there's a couple other groups that meet regularly as well. I just can't think off the top of my head. But you can see all of that on that link, right? So if you go into that link and you look at I want to say it's a calendar view, Paul, right? So you see the entire month, and you can flip from month to month. Right, so if you see that Wednesday nights from 7 till 9 is open, for 8 weeks in a row, and you want to book a program, there's the ability to do that as well. And all they have to do is reach out to the municipal offices, and we can assist with executing that.
Question regarding the Caradoc Community Center to the director: how far is the municipality booking out? A year, just based on the arena progress?
We only ever booked out a year in advance, really. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Wilson. Sherry?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
All right, thank you. Director Littleborn.
I've done too much talking already.
Adrian mentioned this Spooky Saturday. It's an event being hosted by the municipality. It's happening on the 28th at the Fairgrounds Recreation Complex. Need clarification on the timing. Is that an afternoon start? Does Robert or Paul know, or? I don't have it offhand. I know it's the railway's running. It's obviously an event for the families for Halloween, but I think it might be an evening start based on the fact that it's a Halloween event.
I believe it's 4 till 8, but
Okay.
I'd have to double check on that one.
No, appreciate it. I didn't want to put you on the spot there, but it is happening on October the 28th at the Fairgrounds Recreation Complex. I had a couple of events here, but I can mention them at our next meeting because they're outside of our next meeting. I made a comment earlier tonight about the concessions. That's only because I received, actually, for some reason, maybe it's because minor hockey ramped up, quite a few comments about why our concession is not open. So I was wondering if maybe the director can kind of explain to us here, maybe the people watching at home, why concessions are not open in some of our facilities. Like they're run by a third party, is that right? And
Yeah,
and
so-
there's no
so
third
there's a-
party on the board yet, is that
No,
right?
no, there's a third-party contractor.
Okay.
I'm not aware of them not being open. I know they're open at lunchtime for the high school, but I have not had anyone call me and complain about them not being open in the evening at the Gemini. West Middlesex, they're typically only open for the Rockets games.
Yeah, I guess the focus of the comments was based on minor hockey nights that minor hockey's running up now, and the Tuesday nights and the nights where minor hockey and Blue Water are very busy. The Gemini concession has been closed for some reason, so I told them I would bring it to the committee and ask for just maybe some clarification on hours of operation or whatnot. That's all.
I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
I can clarify, it's
Yeah.
4 to 7.
Oh, it's Spooky Saturday, 4 to 7? Thanks, Paul. Perfect, thank you so much. We actually had some conversation before we came to order with Councillor Wilson. Did you want to talk about the meeting time, or you want to still bring that up for discussion? Well, here, I'll give you a little background. So right now we're scheduled for 7 o'clock, and the reason why we're scheduled for 7 o'clock is because, as we know, when we first began, we had an arena committee meeting before, and they were running until about 6:30, 7 o'clock. So there is no arena committee meeting scheduled right now. Do we want to push up to 6:30, or is everybody okay with 7 o'clock? I guess that was up for very, very quick discussion. Did you want to chime in on this, Rob?
Yeah, I've left it at 7 o'clock because I don't know when the arena committee is going to meet again. We're waiting for some work to be conducted at the site. There is no sense of the arena committee meeting until that work is done. So I would expect that work will be done, within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So we may be meeting again come November. We may not be. So I would hate to change the time and then have to send another email out saying, oh, sorry, just joking, it's 7 o'clock again, right? So I was trying to, just for consistency purposes.
Yeah, are we okay leaving it at 7 for November? Okay, so that is our next meeting based on the agenda approval revision is Tuesday, November the 14th at 7 o'clock. So we'll need a mover for adjournment, Adrian and Councilor Palpin. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you in November.